I'm Grace.
So let's get started.
I'm a recipe blogger, family-taught home chef,
Cheers.
Cheers.
iPhone-only photographer, and proud New Englander.
One of the single best dishes ever created is pasta alla Genovese, an onion, beef, and white wine sauce reduced for hours. In this case, 6 hours to heaven. I had this pasta dish a few years ago at a restaurant, and I swear, I have been dreaming of it ever since, and I finally got it right. This is the recipe that I've been dreaming about for so long. I'm gonna show you how to make pasta Genovese. And it's actually really easy to make. It requires a lot of time because we're gonna be slow cooking down our onions and our beef, but it's so worth it. So let me show you how to make. Starts with our onions, and I intentionally shaved all of these onions before doing this video because I really was crying. There were tears running down my face. It was a horrible experience, but it's worth it. 2.5 pounds of yellow onion. I used a mandolin to just thinly shave the onion. You can just use a sharp knife if you want. Set it aside, maybe cover it. And then you just wanna take some carrots and some celery and just finely chop them. And then final prep is really easy. You're just gonna buy a big boneless chuck roast. And I'm just gonna cut this into 4 pieces and then season it just lightly with some salt and pepper. And the reason why I chunked up my chuck roast is because we're going to do a nice sear on the outside of each piece, and it's easier to get a nice sear when they're in chunks. So I'm gonna wash my hands and bring all this over so we can go sear our meat. So now it gets really easy. We're just gonna do a bunch of searing and sauteing, and then we're gonna let this cook for a really long time. So I'm just going to add in a generous splash of olive oil to, this is a Dutch oven. It's basically a heavy bottomed pan. You wanna use something that's really heavy bottomed so you get a nice kind of sear and it cooks really evenly. Okay, so to this, we're going to add in our beef. It's morning now. I'm not a morning person, so that's why I'm a little slow. I'm waiting for the coffee to kick in. So I'm gonna take my beef and we're just gonna give this a nice sear on medium-high heat for 2 minutes aside. It's been 2 minutes, so I'm just gonna give all of these a nice flip. Stop. It's been 2 minutes. Oh my gosh, it's slippery. So you're gonna give it a nice flip to the other side. Keep flipping every 2 minutes. Once your meat is browned, you just wanna get a plate out. You're gonna place your browned meat right on the plate. And I love browning my meat because it's really gonna release the flavor of the chuck roast. And then once we cook it down, it's gonna start to pull apart and be nice and stringy and delicious. And that way, even though it's an inexpensive piece of meat, it's gonna be so delicious. So I'm gonna leave my pan on medium-high heat. And to the pan, you're gonna add in your finely chopped carrots and your celery. And then I have some pancetta. And the pancetta in this is going to just melt into our sauce as it slow cooks, and it's gonna add this salty, meaty, delicious flavor to your sauce. You're not even gonna know it's in there once we cook it all down. So we're just gonna saute this for about 3 to 4 minutes just to kind of soften up the carrots, and then we're gonna add our meat back in and our onions. If you could smell this kitchen, you'd be drooling too. It is insane smelling from that browned meat, all those bits mixed with the pancetta. So now that our carrots, celery, and pancetta are cooked down a little bit, it is time to add our meat and our onions and slow cook them for like 6 hours. Oh, yes, please. So what I do is I turn my heat to low, and then I'm just gonna add in 2 of the 4 pieces of my meat and kind of nestle them into the pan. And then I'm gonna add half of my onions to the top. Okay, half is added. Then I'm going to add my other 2 pieces of meat, and you're just gonna push everything down so it fits. I have a 4-quart Dutch oven here. If you have a bigger one, you might want to use it. Just push that down, and then you're gonna add the rest of your onions, and you're probably thinking, what in the world? How is this gonna cook down? But I'm telling you, it is. All the onions are going to release their juices and their flavor over time, and you just won't even see 75% of these onions in your sauce. Where's the meat? Looks like a big pile of onions. It is going to cook down, don't get scared. We're going to pop our top right on our Dutch oven here. Make sure it's fitting tightly. And we're going to let this cook down for 3 hours. Every hour, you want to check on your meat, and you're going to just kind of turn everything around. So you're going to take the meat on the bottom, put it on the top, and just kind of fluff the onions, put the meat on the top, on the bottom. I'll show you what I mean in 1 hour. So my designated filmer is hard at work because it's the middle of the day, it's not in the evening. So I'm gonna be showing you all on my own what to do for the next step. So it's been 1 hour, so we need to flip around the onions and we need to turn the beef so that the beef on the top is now the beef on the top. The beef on the bottom is now the beef on the top. So I took the top layer of onions and beef out of the pot, and now I'm gonna take the bottom layer and I'm just gonna put it on another plate. You can do whatever is easiest for you to kind of rotate everything. But the goal is to now make room for this top layer on the bottom and kind of flip around the onions just like this and restack the meat. So I'm gonna put the meat from the top now on the bottom. I snagged him for a second. So this is our meat from the bottom. Now it's gonna go on the top, and then I'm just gonna fill in the cracks with your onions, and you're just gonna notice that the onions really don't look like they've cooked down that much, only a little bit. But that's why we're gonna cook it for some more. So 1 more hour, and then we're gonna do the same process. It's hour 2, guys. You know what that means. 1 more stir, and then on to the next step. You can see the onions are starting to really cook down. There's quite a bit of liquid in the bottom of that pan. So I'm just gonna nestle my meat in and cover it. We're back. It's been 3 hours, so that means it's time to add some of our flavor components. So I have some white wine, and I just got a Pinot Grigio from Italy. It's inexpensive. It doesn't need to be an expensive wine. Just something that's dry and a nice white wine. And then I'm gonna be adding some bay leaves, or just 1 bay leaf just for flavor. And then I have some parm rinds, and these are going to flavor our sauce even more too. So I'm going to add these and then set the timer for another hour. But this time we're going to uncover our sauce and cook it at medium low so it's kind of simmering. I'll show you what I mean. Gonna wedge that cheese rind right into our sauce, and then add our bay leaf and do the same thing. White wine. Let it simmer for 1 hour uncovered. Woohoo! We almost made it. We're on hour 5. All we need to do now is we're going to remove the bay leaf, we're gonna remove the parm rind, and then we're just gonna turn the heat up just a little bit to medium heat, and we're just gonna let this simmer kind of like a low boil for about 30 minutes to an hour longer until it thickens to a nice sauce and you don't have any more of that kind of like broth wine look on the bottom of your pan. Again, I'll show you what I mean.
So I removed my bay leaf and my parm rind, and you can see that I have a decent amount of liquid here, and we just want to cook that off so that it's more of a pasta sauce, more of like a nice ragu, nice meaty oniony sauce. So I'm going to let this go for another 30 minutes to an hour, monitoring to make sure you don't reduce it too much, over medium heat. So I just cranked up the heat a little bit more. This is it. This is what you want. You want some juice. You don't want to dehydrate it to death, but you want it to be a nice sauce, just like this. So I'm gonna go ahead and make some pasta, boil some water, and plate this up. Six hours later, and I deserve it. Look at this sauce. I just need to remind everybody what we're dealing with. Basically heaven on earth. And Meryl, I get to eat. It's exactly how I remember it. Absolute heaven on earth. One of the single best things I have ever tasted. I'm not kidding you. Make this. Check it out on tastefullygrace.com. You won't regret it. How many tears do you think were shed because of this bowl? I thought I was gonna die. I really did.